We are going to really start, we're going to start really learning the way we need to, the way we should, in order to be able to use what we're hearing, apply what we're hearing, and set ourselves free, right? Marcus, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Cool. All right. I know you're in the mix right now. Okay, I need you to read that thing for me.
Okay, let me pull it back up. Okay. Okay, can you hear me clear?
Yes, everybody take a good listen.
All right. We can get any number of men who can do what they are told to do after it is fully explained to them. But the men we will pay anything for are the men to whom a general system of tasks can be explained and who will not afterwards come back for instruction. What we are now engaged in doing is, you want me to read that part too?
Yes.
Okay. What we are now engaged in doing is coddling undeveloped minds by developed minds. And that is not a process which develops. It is a process which smothers.
So essentially what Marcus is saying is that the second one was, we are now coddling minds, right? So developing minds are coddling undeveloped minds. And so basically the learned are teaching the unlearned, right? The enlightened are teaching the unenlightened. And the problem is that the enlightened are not teaching the unenlightened how to become enlightened. They're just talking to them or talking at them, right? And so this was part of a speech. I'm actually going to put the link in the chat. It is for, if it's not already there, I think it is for everyone to read sometime today before tomorrow. It is for everyone to read for sometime today before tomorrow's class. And it is from Woodrow Wilson, who was one of our earlier presidents. He actually took us off the gold coin, the gold standard, which is how we have inflation now because money's not based on anything. But he was also the president who basically was kind of the father of formal education in this country. And so what he was giving this speech at Princeton in 1909, I believe. And so he was talking to people about the difference between liberal arts education and basically trade education, and saying how he believes you have to do one or the other, but you have to have a clear idea on which one you're doing based on your desired outcome and based on the person you're working with. And essentially, he was saying that, well, you'll see it in the article more, but he was saying that we have to make a decision and that a lot of times we're not making a decision. And so we're just talking to people. So, and we're not really thinking about who we're talking to, about what our desired outcomes are and things like that. So essentially what's happening is, right, we've been taught to listen and learn, right? But to listen, not learn, right? We've been taught to listen and follow, right? Not learn, not learn and lead. So we've been taught to listen and follow. Just listen to what I say and follow the directions. We haven't been taught how to learn so that we can lead. Lead doesn't always mean, and most often it doesn't mean other people. It means being able to lead your own life, right? We've been taught to listen, right? And just follow, do what I say, right? Instead of actually being able to learn, to take in something and be able to apply it. So that's what the first quote was about. And you'll see that in that, you'll read it when you look at that link and read that whole article. It's basically talking about a person who is most valuable is someone who can be given a concept and has the mental faculty and acuity to be able to take the concept and break it down and apply it by studying, by reflection. That's what one of the biggest words of study, the definition of study, one of the biggest words is reflection, meditate. It means to actually sit and think about something so that you can become an owner of it, to possess it, where you start spending time with it and you start to have a better understanding, not only of what it says, but what it means, right? So a lot of times we know what we hear, but we don't really know what we heard actually means in order to be able to live on it and apply it, right? So here in this class, right, what we do here is we improve the quality of our life by improving our ability to think. And part of the ability to think is not just being able to listen and hear, but actually be able to meditate on it, reflect on it, internalize it, and be able to make it a part of your life to whatever degree and extent you so choose. But that is the ability to lead. Leading first starts with yourself. You can't lead anyone before you lead yourself. So that is what he's referring to. He's seeing, this is 1909, and he's basically lamenting the fact that the country is producing ignorant children, right, which are going to be the offspring of this country, right? At that time, this was over 100 years ago, and we can see it's still true today, and they were talking about it then. So you can see why that's a really important article to read. It's a really good self-reflection, and for yourself, for those around you, and to give you some thought, right? So we are going to get off into, I want everyone to turn, I should have maybe said a little bit earlier, but anyway, go on Google, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on your computer, doesn't matter. Go online and put in the Bible, put in 2 Timothy, so the number 2, and then Timothy, like the name, chapter 2, verse 15. And I just want you guys to have it up so that when I'm going over it, you have an understanding. You can actually see the words, because I don't know how much you can see from your point of view, how much you guys can really all see it. So, okay, perfect. So you can see it like that. So that may be even easier for everyone. Okay, so this is now, today we're going to start learning how to think. And so this is the first thing we're going to start talking about, which is, doesn't really matter the background too much, but this is Paul talking to, basically this would be like you talking to your child before they go to school. This is Paul talking to Timothy saying, hey, when you go out on this journey that you have to help people and to have this experience, I want you to keep these certain things in mind. That's what he's talking about. So that's what this is for. So on here, he tells him, he says, study to show yourself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Rightly dividing the word of truth. So, even if we were to stop right here, study to show yourself approved, even if we were to stop right there and make that a period. Study means, right, to contemplate, to reflect. And when we contemplate and reflect, so let me back up. John, since you're here, let me ask you a question. What does the word study mean? Meaning, what's the difference between study and homework? Like when we're in school, what is the difference between study and homework?
I look at homework as seeing if you can apply what you have learned. I look at study as observe, try to rationalize, and try to absorb a lesson or absorb a concept.
Pretty good. Anyone else? So everyone doesn't always have something to say, obviously, and we're all kind of moving. We may be doing 1,000 different things. But what I do want us to understand is that when we come here, it's not just like regular school. We don't just come in, slide in our chair, sit down, and wait for the person in the front to talk. That's not learning, right? That's education. So we have been educated, but we've been educated to not learn. Meaning we've been conditioned to be able to sit down and listen to someone talk, give us information. We hold it just long enough to give it back on the test, but we don't own it. We don't really know it well enough to live on it. We may be able to recite it, regurgitate it, but we don't know it enough to be able to apply it in life to actually be able to win with it, for it to become a part of our lifestyle. Like food, it was almost like food. If you want to be able to eat it and digest it so that it becomes a part of your bloodstream and it actually forms your body, the food that you digest, not the food you just lick or not the food you take a bite of and spit out, but that one you actually take all the way in to become a part of you. So we have been accustomed to sliding in a chair, sitting down, not really paying attention, doing 2 or 3 or 4 other different things, just like we did when we were in school, playing around in class, talking in back, coming in late, not paying attention, homework half done, right? Because we've been educated to just listen. We haven't really been educated, right, to learn, to know something, right? So it's important when we come here that everyone, to the best of our ability, everyone participates, right? Because that is how we learn. Education is somebody talking at you, right? But they know it. They don't need you to know it. They know it. It's hopefully they want you to know it, but they don't need you to know it. They know it. So it's important for us to take our understanding of things to another level in order for us to be able to live that way. Because I'd be willing to say we're all willing to work. We're all willing to work hard, but the hardest workers are the poorest people generally. I live here in California, and in Central California, Fresno, they're picking strawberries in August, and it's 102 degrees out there, and they're getting paid minimum wage, and they're out there sweating hard, right? So hard work is the least efficient and effective thing as it relates to actual success. It's a byproduct of it, but it is not the main thing, right? To be able to, the work is done mentally because that's what we apply to our physical world, right? So we want to make sure everyone is participating to the best of their ability because that's how we're here. That's what we're here to learn, right? We got to kind of wake up. We can't just come here and slide in and just chill, right? That's not learning, that's education. But education is not designed for you to lead. It's designed for you to follow. And you're following in your own life and you're not following yourself because you can't lead yourself because you don't know enough. So all of us have been educated that way generally from school, right? So only to your point now, studying is if a teacher says homework is page 7, 8, and 9 in your math book, you do 7, 8, and 9, that's homework. Studying would be what you did afterward. What did you do beside that? What did you do above and beyond that to build a relationship you had with this information? How much time did you spend with it? How much reflection did you put on it or into it? Or did you just listen to it, do what the teacher asked you, give it back and move on? Well, that's what most of us do. And it's not just in school and it's not just in academics. We do it in life, right? There's so much information we think we know because we've heard it. We think we know because we can regurgitate it, but our life doesn't show that we know that, right? Our outcomes doesn't show that we know that. Whether it's our bank account, whether it's our health, whether it's our relationships, when we say we know something, do we really know it well enough to apply it? And does our life look like we're applying it or we know it well enough to apply it? Does it look that way? These are questions that we have to ask ourselves because so many of us are happy with hearing something and at best remembering it enough to repeat it, and we assume we know it. But then if we actually had to look at that area of life with that information, is that actually lining up? Is that actually true? And I think if we're honest with ourselves, the majority of the time, the answer is no. Right? So it's important that when we come here, we're not just sliding in to sit and chill and laugh and relax. We're here to actually participate and learn so that we can learn, right? So John, good response. And basically, to kind of keep it moving, basically homework is what they give you to see if you understood what they said, right? Studying is what you do when you want to own what they said. When you want it to be more than just pass the test, you want to keep it long-term. You want to have more of a long-term relationship. So anytime we want to have a long-term relationship with anyone, we spend more time with them. And the information is the same thing as a person. It's something we have to spend an adequate amount of time in order to have a certain relationship. And the better our relationship, the more time we have to spend with it. And the more time we spend with it, the better our relationship, our knowledge, our understanding of that thing. So not only do we understand what he or she said or what it said, but we understand because of the time we spend, we understand what it means. We understand, oh, I know my dad said that, but I also know what they meant when they said it. It's not just the topic surface level, the topical level. It's also understanding what they said and also understanding why they said it, what they meant when they said it. That's when you have a different level of relationship with someone or something. So we want to make sure that we gain that relationship. That's what we're here for, right? So studying is basically, now that I've done 5, 6, and 7 on the math page, right? I now am sitting and I may do 8, 9, and 10, or I may just sit back and think about what I did. but it's me spending time with this information so that I really understand what it's saying to me. I understand it in a way that I can start living it and applying it away from my original source, away from almost like we've all been grown up enough now where we are mature enough to live on our own, away from our parents. That's because we have been raised well enough and we have been alive long enough where we can be self-sufficient, away from the original source. And so we want the understanding of information to be taken from a source, wherever we get it, and build a relationship with it, study it, so that we can actually own it, apply it, and use it, right? So he's given in the direction to study. He's saying study to show yourself approved. Now, before we even get unto God, which we get to that, study to show yourself approved in anything. What are you an expert in? What is it that you can live on? Absolutely. What knowledge do you know that you can live on? Absolutely. For your health, your wealth, your relationships, your happiness, your success, your peace. What information do you know that you can live on like that? That is what you study for, to show yourself approved. It's unto, this could be unto God, it could be unto anybody, to your boss, to your significant other, to your children. When you study, when you know something, when you have a relationship with what you're giving out to someone, it looks like it sounds like it feels like it tastes like it, right? That is the level of life that we're living at, right? So no matter who we're doing it to, we want to make sure that we attain a level of knowledge and skill that comes from studying, not just homework, but from time and reflection, right? From repetition, from sitting back and doing it over and over and over until it becomes a part of you, not just something you heard about. It's not separate from you. It's something you are. It's something that you know. There's no separation between it and you, right? So just on that. Now, if you add unto God. So when we talk about God, right, we understand that now to be I am, to be consciousness. So when you're studying to show yourself approved unto consciousness, unto your awareness of being, what you're essentially doing is you're saying, I'm going to study something, right? In this case, he's telling him to study the principles that they knew. Study this thing, all the things that we've taught you. Make sure you understand, right? And so this is what he was preaching, the word of God at the time. That's what he was out there doing, right? But he was studying to show himself approved unto God. It means he was studying to show himself approved unto consciousness, which means, you know how you study so long for a test that you just know that you're ready for the test, you're one with the answer, you're approved. Your consciousness approves you. It says, yes, they know, we know this thing. Us and the mind are one. Him or her and I and the mind are one. We are approved. They know what they know, right? So we're studying so that we're approved unto our consciousness, our awareness. Now, whatever we are desiring to be aware of, we have to study to get to that level of awareness. If we want to be healthy, if we want to be wealthy, we have to spend time with that thought and that concept in order to be approved unto our consciousness, in order to become aware of it so that we become one with it, right? That's what studying does. A workman that needeth not to be ashamed. So when you study, right, it prevents you from being ashamed. You know, when you're in high school or, school of any type or any age, when you don't study and the test comes out and you look at it and you're like, oh, right? And you're looking at that paper and you're just like, oh man, you feel ashamed. When the grade comes out, you really feel ashamed. It's because you didn't study. You have no relationship with the information. So it's a stranger to you because you spent no time with it. So studying means to spend time. And when you spend time, you don't need to be ashamed. You will not be separated from the thing you spent time with. That's what studying does. It brings you into oneness with whatever or whomever you're studying, whether it's a person or a topic or a subject, right? So it prevents you from being ashamed. Rightly dividing the word of truth. So we study in order to rightly divide the word of truth. So the word of truth, right, there's two forms of it, right? There's what somebody said and what somebody meant. So in this book, right, this book is written exoterically. Exoterically means like the tortoise and the hare. They're just telling you a story. Exoterically, they're just saying something, surface level, topic level. What they mean, what they're trying to get you to understand by what they're saying is what they mean. They're saying, I'm saying this, but I mean this. What they mean by the story or what they're talking about is esoterically. So exo, like exoskeleton, outer. It means outer. They're saying something on the outer surface level. They're just talking to you. But what they're saying to you, they want you to be able to understand or decipher esoterically. So that's why I had Marcus read that very quote at the beginning, where they said, yeah, we can find a whole bunch of people who can just listen and follow directions. But the people we'll pay for are the people we can say something to, and they know what we said, but also know what we meant. They know how to take this information and apply it without having a whole bunch of questions to us. If we have to do all that for them, they're not worth that pay. Right? So this whole book, which we'll get into in a second, because we're going to use it, is written exoterically. It's on a surface level, right? It's on top of something. But esoterically is where the real meaning and true value of what they're saying is. This is what I'm saying this to say that. I'm saying this, but I mean this. And the only way you'll be able to rightly divide that word of truth is through studying, reflecting, spending time. Homework doesn't cut it. Just sitting down and reading a couple pages doesn't cut it. Just looking at it for 2 minutes and walking away or memorizing the sentence doesn't cut it. We have to make sure that we spend enough time with it so that we understand what they said exoterically and what they meant esoterically. So today we are going to get into some examples of this so that we start learning how to think, how to take all the information we have in our life and disseminate it, decipher it, and figure out what's good, what's not, what works, what doesn't, so that we can figure out what is the best type and form and kind of information we can apply to our life, what's the best type and form and kind that we need to learn for our life so that we can live the life that we want to live, right? So that's what this means. So study, right? So that you become conscious of being whatever you want, of learning or being whatever you want. If you study and do that, you will not have to be ashamed of not being it. You won't have to go without it. You won't be separated from your desire, what you want. And you'll be able to rightly divide the word of truth, like a multiple choice. There's a whole bunch of answers on here. You have to figure out which one is the right one. You have no chance if you don't study. They all look just good enough to possibly be right. Maybe one looks real crazy, but the other ones are just close enough that if you don't study, you won't be able to rightly divide the word. You won't know really what's right. You're just out here guessing. That comes from a lack of study, a lack of time with something, right? So that is important. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next thing. Let's see. Okay, now I want everyone to, well, we'll share the screen. Pull up Galatians, Galatians, Galatians 4, chapter 4, verse 21 through 24. And we'll share the screen so everybody gets a chance to see it. All right. Here we go. Who's on here? All right. So who would like to read verses 21 through 24? Can I have a volunteer, please?
Take it.
All right.
Just tell me, you who want to be under the law, are you not aware of what the law says? For it is written that Abraham had 2 sons, one by the slave woman and the other by the free woman. His son by the slave woman was born according to the flesh, but his son by the free woman was born as a result of a divine promise. These things have been taken figuratively. The woman represents 2 covenants. One covenant is from Mount Sinai and bears the children who are to be slaves. This is Hagar.
Okay. So first of all, man, you should be doing some audio books or some kind of voiceovers for commercials or something, or doing some late night radio, man, because you got it, man. You got the voice for real. Oh, will you pull that back up for me, please? So thank you for that. Now, so I have this up, and I want everybody to see it again so that you can see something. And the 24th verse, it says, these things are to be taken what? Did anybody catch what that word is after taken? What is that word? Anybody?
Figuratively.
What does that mean?
I mean, it shouldn't be taken literally. It's not. You shouldn't take it as face value. You have to. There's a deeper meaning to it, a different meaning to it.
Exactly. So that means they're only telling you this exoterically, because esoterically they're trying to tell you something else. So that means everything they just told you right now is not literal. They're not talking about anyone literal or anything literal. They're using a story to tell you something through the story. These things are being taken figuratively. In some translations, it says allegorically. In some, it says did it say? Did I write that down? Symbolically. These are, so when we talk about rightly dividing the word of truth, this is one version of it. When we talk about the understanding of exoteric, what is being said versus what is meant, here's another version of it, right? So I'm showing you in this book that they're saying that this whole thing is a collection of stories that is trying to tell you the truth through the stories. They're not to be taken literally. They're to be taken figuratively so that you understand not just what they said, but most and more importantly, what they mean by what they're saying. Why are they telling you this story? What is it for? What's the point? And so a lot of us miss things because, like I said, we've been educated to listen, but we have not been taught how to learn. We've been told what to think. We have not been taught how to think. So we are not able to rightly divide the word of truth. We just hear something, we think it's all true or it's not true. We don't realize that the truth may be in the middle, meaning it may be not true on the surface, but what they're saying, the meaning of what they're saying is true, right? They're saying that this is a representation of something. The women represent. So they're saying this story represents, it means this, right? So I want you to see, we're going step by step so we understand something, because we're building up. Okay, so now, please turn to, so hold on. So does anybody have any questions so far? Because I want to make sure everyone is with me. Okay, I assume that's a no. So let's go to Genesis chapter 25, verse 23 through 26. 25, yeah, verse 23. So I need someone to read this. I need a volunteer. Who's going to take it?
I got it.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so we got Genesis 25, verses 23 to 26.
Yes, sir.
The Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out, with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Let's see here, just lost this. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was content to stay at home among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob.
Okay, that's good. Perfect. So what we have here is a prediction of the future. It's not a prediction, it's a fact. But what I'm showing you here is there are 4 people really involved in the story. There is Isaac, who is Esau and Jacob's father. There's Esau, who's the oldest brother. Jacob is the youngest brother, and Rebekah is their mother, is Esau and Jacob's mother. Right? Will you put it back for me? No, you don't. Don't worry about it. Okay. So I want everybody to understand that. So Isaac is the father. Esau is the oldest brother, and he's hairy. Jacob is the younger brother, and he's hairless. Rebekah is the mother. Okay, so now all of this is leading up. This is the first story we're going to look at. So I'm going to tell it to you, but you guys can look at, start in Genesis chapter 27. If you guys want to kind of just follow along, I'm just going to paraphrase. Just in the interest of time, I'm just going to paraphrase because I'm going to give you a couple stories for you to be able to understand what I want you to understand today. So if anybody remembers from last week, what does the personification of male, not man, because man is male and female. That's what the word man means. But the personification of male in this book. Does anybody know what that, remember what that, how do I want to say that? Well, I'll change it. So Isaac the father, if you follow in this story on chapter 27, this father is blind. The father is blind. Isaac is blind, right? So what happens is you guys can read it on your own and stuff like that. But the point of the story is this. Esau is what we call humanity. It's reality. It's what we see right now. Jacob, so that's why Esau's hairy. It's a reflection of the physical world. Jacob is hairless. The word Jacob, Esau means hairy. The word Jacob means supplanter. It means the person who's going to take over. That's why when we read the earlier ones, he said, you know, the younger one's going to take over, is going to rule. That's what they're talking about. Esau is what you would call the outer man, the person you can see. Jacob is the inner man, your true you. It's the one that always wants to striving higher for greater and bigger and larger expression. That's what you have desires for. Every one of those desires is like Jacob, is desiring to become more than your Esau now. You're both Esau and Jacob. You're Esau right now in your physical form, what you are in human reality right now. Your Jacob is your desire. It is the being in you that desires to supplant, to be more than your Esau right now, more than what you are right now. So when you desire to be healthier or wealthier or happier, when you desire to be anything, it is your Jacob. Jacob is the part of you that is invisible. That's why it's hairless. It's invisible. It's the younger you. It's the one that's sitting in the back. Esau's the older brother. So he's the one that everyone sees. But your Jacob in you is the one that's now trying to come to the forefront because it wants to express more. So when you become your Jacob, it means you've now become your desire. You've now stepped in front of what you used to look like, and now you look like this. That's what this story is about. So Isaac basically is getting older. And so he says to his son Esau, the oldest one, in a lot of cultures, the older siblings get the authority as it's passed down, right? So as Isaac is getting older and he realizes he's dying, he tells Esau, hey, look, he brings him into the tent and he says, hey, I'm getting older. Time is almost up. I want you to go out into the, and hunt and basically find me a good meal to eat. So I can be almost like a death row prisoner, like for my last meal. Find me something good to eat. So then when you come back, I can give you the blessing. So he's talking to Esau. Jacob and the mother hears. Jacob wants to be more, but he's stuck behind his brother. So we want to be more, but we're stuck behind what we see ourselves to be right now. So Jacob says, he's listening, but he doesn't have a plan. The mother comes. The mother says, hey, if you remember in that last part that you read, Isaac, was really fond of Esau and things like that. But the mother, Rebecca, loved Jacob. Rebecca, the mother, represents in this story emotion. One of the first definitions, if you remember last week when I first started, I was talking to you about a couple different things. Women a lot of times are personified with emotion. Men are usually personified with thought, with seed and soil, right? Seed and womb. One is put into something else, and it is clothed and birthed, right? So the woman, the emotion, she said to him, hey, I heard your dad talking to your brother, and I know you want to be more than what you are, but you're not going to get this blessing if you feel like you feel, because you're the younger brother. It's not your right. So I have a plan for you. Go out and I'm going to get some of your brother's clothes. You go out and basically shear some sheep so that you can put the sheep's wool on your arms so that you can feel like your brother. And I'm going to get your clothes. And so that, your brother's clothes, so you can put them on you. So then what you're going to do is so basically what she was doing was she was showing him how to feel like his brother in order to get the blessing. So he told her, well, man, if I get caught, I'm gonna get killed for this. She said, don't worry about it. If anything happens, it'll be on me. Emotion, right? So now she's being used as, this is the part of you, this emotion, this is the part of you that you have to bring to the Father, which we'll get to in a second. So he's already the supplanter. That means he's the desirer. He represents desire to be more than what he is. Esau represents reality right now, what you're looking at right now. So she gets the clothes. He goes out and puts all the lamb stuff all on his hands and wrists and everything like that. Esau is gone. So he walks in with the food. His mom gave him some food, and he walked into his dad. And his dad now, remember, is blind, right? So his dad says, hey, who is it? And he said, oh, it's me, Esau, your son. And he said, man, you sound like Jacob. He was like, well, come close so I can feel you. So he goes close to him. And then he rubs him and he says, wow, you sound like Jacob, but you feel like Esau. So, okay, let's eat. So they started eating. So then after that, he says, well, come close so I can kiss you. I can hug you and kiss you. So he goes close and he said, okay, well, so then he basically, essentially, he gives him the blessing. He says, hey, the authority now goes to you. Now, Isaac is blind. So have you ever heard like Lady Justice is blind, right? Or the law is blind. Or in this book, it also says the law is no respecter of persons. What it's trying to tell you is what people they think is like a lie, or they're like, oh, he's lying, or that's exoterically, they're telling you a story. But what they mean by it is this: when you want to be something, you have two things. You have a thought, right? And you have the desire, right? You have, which is reflected in emotion. The desire to be something, the feeling that goes with that thought. So you have the father and the mother. This is how they're telling you how to be what you want to be, how to not be bound by being younger, meaning bound by the older brother. You don't have to be bound by what you are physically experiencing right now. That is your Esau. It's using Jacob to tell you how to supplant that. What it's saying to you is you go to the Father. Well, who is the Father in this book? It's God, essentially, right? It's I am. It's your consciousness. It's your consciousness. You go to your consciousness, which is blind. It's not a respecter of persons. It doesn't care. It doesn't care what you are. It only cares how you approach it, what you proclaim yourself to be. It will give you anything that you can think and feel yourself to be. It does not have to be true in the real world. It doesn't have to be externally true, but all you have to do is assume you are something and feel like the person you're assuming you are, whether it's what you are, what you have, or what you're doing. And so that's why the mother stopped him and said, look, I know you have a desire, I know you have a thought, but just the thought alone doesn't work. So that's why affirmations don't work for most people, because it's just a thought. They're just repeating a thought, but there's no feeling in it. And I don't mean hysteria. I don't mean falling down, sweating, burning candles and yelling at everybody and saying it over and over and over till you pass out. No, it means there is no feeling that's associated with that desire. When you have a desire to win the lottery, if you won it, how would that feel? There would be a natural feeling that goes with that. If you got a new job that you really wanted, how would that feel? That would feel different than winning a lottery. If you got a new car, it would feel different than getting a new job. If you wanted to be in a happy relationship, that would feel different. Each thought has its own corresponding feeling. But you have to approach your consciousness by saying, right now I'm Esau. Right now I am working at Walmart. I want to work on Wall Street. So then right now Esau is telling you, man, it ain't happening. This is reality. Look at reality. You're not the person that deserves this blessing. You're not older. You're not next in line. But you're Jacob. Your inner self, your desire is Jacob, to supplant what you are, to go past Walmart into Wall Street. And how do you do that? Well, with a thought, your desire, right? Your thought and your desire, the emotion of that thought. So you're now coming to your consciousness and saying, okay, let's say so you go to your consciousness with that thought. And so you usurp it, or you supplant it by changing your identity, in the sense of you now go from, hey, I'm Jacob. I'm now going to feel myself to be reality now. I'm going to feel myself to be Esau. I'm going to present myself as Esau to the blind law, to the Father. So right now, I am is working at Walmart. At Walmart. This is Esau. This is reality. This is what's happening to you right now. What you want to do is now overcome that, because you have a desire. You want to supersede that because you have a desire. So what you do now is you say, well, Jacob now has to become Esau. Jacob has to become reality. So what is Jacob's reality? That he must present with thought and feeling to consciousness, to my awareness. Well, it's, I am working on Wall Street. So now I am is working at Walmart. Jacob, in order to change his reality, to usurp or supplant Esau, has to say, now I am, my I amness, my awareness. I am now aware of being or doing or having. I am working on Wall Street. I'm now doing that now. That's now who I am. I am now presenting myself to the Father to get this blessing. I'm presenting myself to my awareness. I'm changing my outfit, what I think and feel myself to be. I am now going to present myself as Esau. I'm going to present my desire as reality now. The blind father doesn't know which one you are. So it has to feel you. It cannot just hear you. You cannot just say, I am rich, 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 I am rich. It doesn't work like that. You have to, that's one thing you do. That's the thought. But that's why the mom stopped him and said, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. let me help you. Go out. She had the idea. Her love for him was expressed in emotion. So she gave him the emotion that you also need to present with the idea. So when you go to the law of consciousness, I am, that is the blind father. It's blind. It doesn't have anything attached to anything. So when you approach it, you have to announce yourself to be Esau, right? And the reality now that you desire to express. By now claiming yourself to be on Wall Street, so to speak, right? Or wealthy, or healthy, or whatever it is, whatever thing that you want to usurp or supplant in your life. You have to do that with thought and feeling by now claiming yourself to be in reality right now. He didn't say, well, I'm going to be Esau. So we're not going to say I'm going to be wealthy. If you're going to be Esau, you're not Esau. So tell Esau to come in here. You're going to stay as you are. So what the story is trying to tell you is how to become what you want when circumstances in front of you say you have to remain as you are because you're the younger brother and you don't deserve the blessing. It is telling you that in order to get the blessing from the law, from the blind father, from Lady Justice, from the blind father, from consciousness, right? The law of mind, in order to become what you want, you have to take that thought and feeling of being what you are to your consciousness by now saying, I am this thing, whether it's I am being, I'm doing, I'm having now. Who is it? It's Esau. Not it's going to be Esau once this hair dries. Not it's going to be Esau once these clothes fit a little better. It is going to, I am Esau now. Your consciousness does not know, or meaning it does not care what you present yourself to be. That's the law. That's your salvation. That's why it says, I am the way. I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. Your I amness, your consciousness, I am, is the way. It's the way out. It's the way in. It's the way up. It's the way down. It is the way. It is the truth. It is the life. It is the light. It is your salvation. It is the way you get from Walmart to Wall Street. It doesn't matter that you're the younger. It doesn't matter that you don't have the hair. The feeling is what you use with the thought. You bring both of those two together in consciousness by now assuming yourself to be. When you're doing that, your awareness is always asking you who you are. And you're always proclaiming it. I am this, I am that, I'm sore, I'm sad, I'm sick, I'm rich, I'm tired, I am going to work. We're always proclaiming ourselves to be in a state of something. And so our blind father is always blessing us according to the state that we're proclaiming and feeling ourselves to be. So that's what this story is. That's what they're trying to tell you, is how to overcome your present state and to let you know that you can at any time, anything, any way, as long as you know how to do that. That's what this story is about. Okay, is there any questions on that? Because I'm gonna go into another one that's kind of similar so you can see another example of it. Are there any questions about that so far? Is anybody there?
We definitely can hear you. We definitely can hear you.
Okay, because I can't hear anybody, so I don't know if people sleep, awake. This is an interactive program. This is not church where you sit up in here and just listen to somebody rant and rave for 2 hours. This is not that. This is for all of us, right? So I want to know if everybody's listening, pay attention, clear, not clear, because I want us to get it. This is what this is for, right? So that you guys can, so not only you guys, I'm talking about all of us, like we can go out and be something today that we couldn't have yesterday, that we didn't know how to be yesterday, but still wanted to be. The goal is not to figure out how to be happy in misery, it's to eliminate misery. But if we don't know how to do that, right? Most time, none of us know how to do it. Nobody's telling us, right? That's what this is for us to live a life, right? Of that we want. Okay. Next one is Luke chapter 1, verse 26. It's another similar story, and I want you guys to see some of the similarities that you understand on reinforcing really what it means, what these things mean, what men and women mean, what they represent, and all these different things so that you can rightly divide the word of truth, so that you can get this good game that's in here. Because I used to think I'm all about the truth. I don't care where it is and where I find it. So when I first talked to a lot of you, I showed you a lot of history stuff. I've taught history. I've learned a lot of things because I've always been a seeker of truth. But a lot of things that I've learned didn't necessarily help me in the ways that I wanted to, but I still learned them. And one thing I learned in whether it's law, health, history, that I've learned is that the common denominator is that most of us don't know any of the truth about any of those things because we're not taught and told them. We don't know why they can tow your car, because in law, when you register something, it means to turn over title. So you think you own it, but you don't. Even if you got the pink slip, the real one is white. They burn that when you buy the car. You never get it. But most people don't know that. So then you think, oh, because I own the car, they can't tow it. Or because it's parked on the street, they can tow it. Well, it's parked on the street, they can tow it, but it's because when you signed up for your driving privilege, you signed up and said you're going to follow all the rules that they put out for you, right? So back in the early 80s, people didn't have to buy car insurance. So when you hit someone, they sued. When you hit someone, they sued the state, because that's why the state is on your license plate. I don't care if you put Boo Boo Licious on there, Lady Diva, He-Man, doesn't matter what you put on the plate. On the plate, it still says Maryland, Philadelphia, California. Those are the owners of your car. It ain't you, no matter what you think it is. That's why they can tow it. It's their possession. So what happened was when people used to get into accidents, they didn't sue the driver because drivers didn't have to have insurance originally. Everything was insured under the property owner. So now when that started happening, the state said, man, we're losing too much money. So then they started making people buy their own insurance, right? That's where that came from. But even then they can still take it because you're just a pseudo owner. You're not the real owner because you registered your car. You turned over title to your car. You turned over your property. It means to register, means to turn over property. So I say about to say that there's a lot of things that I learned in life and things like that, but they didn't really help me. Like this is helping me. Like this has helped me. Like I've been able to turn and do things that I didn't think I could do, or that people said I couldn't do because of it, right? So this is why I'm sharing it this way, because, but I also want you to see the commonalities that most of us aren't taught or told the truth. We're just taught a whole bunch of things that sound good and everybody thinks the same thing, so they think it's the truth. But what's common doesn't make it correct. What's been normalized doesn't mean it's normal. It's just what people have come to accept because no one knows any better. And after a while, they have bigger fish to fry and stuff like that, right? But this is why we're going over all this stuff. So right now, so in Luke 1:20, let's see, starting in verse 26, so all the way to okay, all the way to 20, all the way to 30, 36, yeah, to about 30. So 26 through 36. 26. So who wants to read 26, chapter 1, 26, verse 26 through 36?
So good.
All right. Thank you, sir.
In the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy,
No,
God sent the
that's 26. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Go for it. I'm sorry.
God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, a town in Galilee, to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of David. The virgin's name was Mary. The angel went to her and said, "Greetings, you who are highly favored, the Lord is with you." Mary was greatly troubled at these words and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. But the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over Jacob's descendants forever. His kingdom will never end." how will this be? Mary asked the angel, since I'm a virgin. The angel answered, the Holy Spirit will come on you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. So the Holy One to be born will be called the Son of God. Even Elizabeth, your relative, is going to have a child in her old age, and she who has said to be unable to conceive is in her 6th month. For no word from God will ever fail. I am the Lord's servant, Mary answered. May your word to me be fulfilled. Then the angel left her.
Perfect. Okay, so you can keep that up. Can you blow it up? Or you can't? You may not. No worries. Okay, so here's what I want. So, like I said, I want you guys to go back over it yourselves, these stories, and read it and sit down and really understand what I'm saying. Like I always tell you, this isn't about me. I'm not trying to get anybody to follow me. I'm not trying to be anybody's pastor. I'm not trying to be anybody's guru. I am just bringing the truth to you as I have come across it and come to understand it. But it is not for you to believe in me or follow me. It's to bring it back to you for your own reflection and your own consideration, for you to actually sit down and reflect on it and do with it what you will, right? So, angel. Does anybody know what another word for angel is? So the angel came to Mary. Anybody have another word for angel? There's nothing wrong with guessing. That's how we learn. So our kids learn. They just make up anything. What does that mean? It means this. That's how we learn, right? But if we don't participate, we can't learn, right? We have to participate in our own learning. We've already had enough education. Somebody just yelling at us, trying to tell us what to do.
Angel, protector, cover,
Spirit.
shadow.
There you go. Okay. So another word is for angel is idea. An idea came and said something to her. When our ideas come and say something to us, hey man, I wonder if I could, but that idea, where it's coming from, is not coming from our conscious mind. It's not always coming from our conscious mind. It's coming from another part of us to our conscious mind. Our conscious mind is a piece of equipment. It's a piece of apparatus. It's something that we sit in and operate with thoughts and feelings. We're operating our mind. We're not our mind, but we're operating our mind. We're not our car, but we're operating our mind. Our mind is almost like a big old tractor. It's a big piece of equipment that our little self, so to speak, sits in. So all we see is the tractor. But if we were to know maturely, we know the tractor's not moving itself. It's not doing nothing. It's not moving around on its own. Something's in it. But a lot of times the tractor's so big or it's so far away from the field, we can't see it. We can't see who's in it. But somebody's still operating it, right? Our mind is being operated by us, something that we can't see, right? And so we're using this apparatus, this machinery in order to accomplish something. So another word for angel is idea, right? Now, Mary, there are several Marys in the book. This particular Mary means sea or infinite, ocean, meaning it's a virgin because you're always going to have new ideas. You're always having fresh new ideas. That's why it came to this Mary. Not Mary Magdalene, not Mary, the other Marys. They came to this Mary because that's what this Mary's name means. It means sea, infinite, ocean, like just infinite, endless. We'll always have infinite, endless ideas, desires, things that we want to become or express, right? Now, when that idea came, right, to this person, when an idea comes to us from another place, from our consciousness, our I amness, what we would call God, when it comes from there, What's the first thing we do? First thing she did, we got troubled and wondered. Half the time we're like, well, because what does she say? How? We think to ourselves, what? What do you mean? Like, how? How? That's what we always think. How? How is this gonna, how? We get troubled and wonder because we feel burdened by the idea, but we don't realize the idea is not something we came up with. So it's not something we in our humanity have to make work. It doesn't need our help. It just needs our permission. It's just something that wants to be done through us. Our Jacob wants to do something through us, right? Our greater self wants to do something through our physical body. It doesn't need our help. It just needs our permission. A seed doesn't need the soil's help to do anything to it except give it a place to be able to grow. It just needs the place, just needs the environment, right? So she became troubled. And then what does God always say? It said it, I can't go over 300 something times in the book. Fear not, don't be afraid. When you have an idea to be something, to usurp yourself, to supplant yourself, to be bigger than what you are, and that idea comes from your greater self to you, it says we don't have to be afraid. But we are afraid because one, we don't trust it, because one, we don't know where it came from. We're like, man, what's this? Somebody calls you on the phone, they just start talking. Hey, let's go to the park, man, or let's go to the movies. First thing is like, well, hold on, who is this? Because based on who it is, that determines if we want to do it, if we believe it, if we can believe it can be done, if we want it to be done, who we're doing it with matters. So if we don't know where this desire comes from, it's hard for us to act on it. So a lot of times we don't. Often we don't. Because we're like, well, since I don't know where it came from, and I know it wasn't my idea, so I don't know how it's going to work, so I'm just going to let it go. And so that desire dies. It dies within you. It doesn't go away and die like it's not still there, but it just stops talking. You can't hear it, you drowned it out, right? But because we asked, how am I going to do this? She said, I am. We always say, how am I going to do this? I am. That's what Jacob said. How am I going to be this? I am. The mother said, I'll show you. You have this thought, you put some emotion with it, you cook it up, and you win it, right? So we say, I am. And he said, okay, you're gonna have the Son of God. Well, the Son of God, right? You're gonna have the expression, the Son of God is the expression of consciousness. It's expressing itself to be something. So in this case, it's expressing itself to be a son or a daughter, but our children are expressions of the parents. They're the outcome. So so our idea is a desired expression. It needs a thought and an emotion to come together to have an expression of the thought and the idea and the emotion, right? So the expression of consciousness said, I'm going to put in your mind. That's why she didn't need the aid of a man, because what it's saying is that when you have a thought, when you have an idea, the thought, the man, God, in that sense, right? The thought was impregnated in her mind. So now so why was it impregnated in Mary? God could have made Jesus from anybody or made Jesus any way. Why put it in a woman? Why need a woman? Why need a man? Why need anything? Well, because it's trying to tell you that when you have it, that the law, the way things are created is consciousness, thought needs man, needs woman to create a human version of itself. Thought needs emotion in order to create the outcome of the thought. So Mary didn't ask for that. God said, I wanted something. We didn't ask for this thing consciously, but our true self, our greater self, our higher self, right? Our consciousness said, hey, I want to express something. So now it's coming to the body. It's coming to us and saying, hey, I need to use you. I want to do something with you. And what do we always say? How? Since I'm this, we have a thought, man, I sure like to own my own company. How? Since I'm just a janitor. How? That's the same thing she said. These stories are all of us. We are all of these characters. They're just different personifications and states of mind, personifications of personalities. They're all of us. We've been all these people at one point in our journey. That's what this book is about. It's an autobiography of us. It's telling us who we are, but it's telling us all the things that happened while we're on our path to waking up, right? It's been used 1,000 different ways, but those ways are not true, but that's how they've truly been used, right? And so it's telling us, it's saying, hey, God said, if I want to bring a son into this earth, if the thought wanted to make an expression, it needed emotion. So what you do is you take your thought and you wrap it in emotion, like you wrap a Christmas gift, like you put seed in the ground, you put the soil over the seed, because that is what's going to allow it to germinate. That's the proper environment for thought to grow up and express itself in, is the proper emotion. That's why if you have seed and you put it in the ground, then you put Roundup and bleach and everything else on there, it'll kill the seed because you spoil the soil. So when you put a seed into and you emotionalize it, you have to be mindful of your emotions. You're the soil, right? You're the thinker and the emotionalizer. You're the giver and the gift. You're the whole thing. So the thoughts we have with improper, I desire to be something, but my improper emotion is, well, I sure can't be that. It's too hard. I'm black, or I'm white, or I'm a woman, or I'm this, or I'm that. And so it's how, since I am, right? Then then the Holy Spirit, right, which is the reminder, is what we would call like our listening to ourselves. Is what we would call like hearing ourselves. It's what we would call our intuition. It's something that says, hey, there's something greater for you, or this is what's happening. You don't have to worry about it. I'm giving you the answer, right? And so then it says, son of I am, consciousness, right? No word will ever fail. This thought that you have is a word. It is a declaration and decree from your greater self saying, let there be. It will never fail if you trust it. But that comes from studying, meaning spending time with something or someone. In this case, yourself, because your true self is what people call God. It's what people call 1,000 different things. Doesn't matter what you call it. It works the same way. Doesn't matter what you call it. So the point is that the way it works is through thought. It thinks of something and then believes itself to be that. It emotionalizes, says, I am now this thing. I'm not going to be, I'm not will be, I'm presenting myself to the Father. This immaculate conception is saying that your consciousness, your thought has the ability, plants a seed in your mind. And if you emotionalize that thought as being so and true, it will, what people call manifest, it will express itself in your physical world without the aid of humanity. It knows the best way to express itself, just like the seed knows the best way to express itself coming through the soil. The soil is just there to house it, but the seed has its own way of expressing itself. It doesn't need the soil's help to express itself. It just needs the soil environment to express itself. The thought that we have to be more than what we are or whatever we want to be, that thought is coming from that desire to really be something. We have 1,000 thoughts a day, not those. The desire to really be something, like you really want something, a new car or a home or a better body or a relationship or a better relationship, or what the desire you have to really, the ones you really have, the ones that mean something to you, not the 1,000 thoughts. I'm eating McDonald's, I'm gonna go to Whole Foods. No, not those kind. The desiring kind, the one you're like, no, I'm hungry. I went to bed thinking about it. I woke up thinking about it. I'm thinking about it when I'm driving. I'm thinking about it when I'm playing baseball. I'm thinking about it. That one, that thought, that desire, right? If you emotionalize it, meaning the equivalent emotion. So it's like, oh man, how would it feel? How do you do that? You ask yourself, how would I feel if that were so? When you're thinking of that, you're emotionalizing it. You're finding the corresponding thought. You're now clothing yourself in Esau's clothes. You're putting on the clothes of the person who deserves the blessing from the Father, from the law, from consciousness. When you say, how would I feel if I had that? What would I do? What would I think? What would I be? You're clothing yourself. You're putting on the emotion of that thought. That's what the mother in the previous story was saying. That's why both of these are women, Rebecca and Mary, because they represent emotion, the necessary emotion that you have to clothe your thought with in order to become Esau, the Esau of your world, the new reality. In order to be, you're Jacob wanting to be more. And in order to be what you want to be, you have to be like Esau, now that in reality. So when you when you have a thought and you clothe it in emotion by saying, I now am this, you now go from Esau, right? The current reality, to now Jacob, the desired reality, to now almost back to Esau again, in the sense of Jacob now sits on top of Esau as this new being sits on top of reality. Jacob now sits on top of Esau. Now I'm the head. You serve me. I'm him now. I'm her now. It's the same thing, right? So that is what a lot of times women are personifications of emotion. Not always. Men aren't always personifications of thought, but in most oftentimes they are. And the reason why is because they're just personification. They're saying this word emotion is necessary. Who do we want? What do we want to dress this up in? In the story, who is this person? Okay, we'll just say it's a woman. It could have been a man, theoretically, but they just made it as this. It doesn't matter. It's not men or women, literally. It's just talking about this is what it's dressed up in. So I'm going under the surface that you can see it's not men or women, literally. Men and women represent, right, thought and emotion. Women think, men are emotional. Sometimes we call it temper, right? I was, 2 weeks ago when Dallas lost to the 49ers, I was on YouTube looking at the Dallas fans, watching people punch TVs. There's a whole bunch of emotional men on there. Acting a stone fool, punching TVs, backing their trucks up over their TV, ripping them out the wall. That's emotion. It's emotion. There's no good or bad. There's emotion, right? So women think men are emotional. So they're just personifications. They're not actual literal static things that nobody can get out of, right? So the whole point of both of these stories is, right, when he said, hey, I'm gonna put this thought inside of you, right? And so that I'm gonna put this thought inside of you, in your mind. This is your Garden of Eden. Here, your mind is your Garden of Eden. This is where it is. It's your mind. I'm gonna put this thought here in this garden, and I'm gonna let it grow with emotion until it's time to express itself. So in this book, it says, I have ways and means you know not of. You know, when a woman is pregnant, okay, the seed is there, now she's pregnant. Nobody knows how the eyes are getting formed. Nobody's pulling out the leg and trying to make the nose. Everybody just realizes there's something in there growing. Let it grow. Feed it as you're supposed to and leave it alone. It has its own ways of working. Well, that seed in your mind is the same way as a seed in a woman, right? That's why a lot of times they use these metaphors and these analogies and things like that, because they were using things they could understand to explain what they were really trying to say. And that seed in your mind, you're now pregnant. That's why I said you're pregnant. He said, and just be cool. I'll take care of it. And so she was able to birth it, right? And so in our mind, we have thoughts that are seeds. And when we emotionalize them and we hold them as present fact truth, I now am what I want to be. I'm Jacob. I now am this person. I'm no longer Esau, the person who's just here and that's it. No, I'm now this. I'm now greater. I have supplanted that. I've overcome that by now clothing myself, thinking and clothing myself in the feeling of that thought. And that is how you become. And in time, like that seed, it will express itself. But just like that seed, you have to remain faithful to it. You can't let go of it. You can't say, yes, I am. And the next day you're like, hey, man, what's going on? You'll be like, oh, man, these. So now you've let the seed go, right? Now you've abandoned it. That's not going to work out. That's not going to give birth too well. That's probably not going to make the whole way, right? You have to maintain fidelity, faithfulness to that thought. The thought and the emotion have to remain connected, just like the seed in the womb, just like the seed in the soil. They have to remain connected throughout its entire germination process in order to birth. But you will see when the seed is birthed, you will see the combination of what it is, the seed and the feeling. The seed will come out of the soil, right? The thought will come into expression, will come out of your body into your world. That's what these two stories are trying to tell you. So what we think matters. What we feel matters. So when we think we can just say anything, feel anything. Oh man, we're not denying feeling. We're not denying thoughts. We don't have to act like we don't see anything or feel anything. No, we understand that we are not our thoughts or our feelings. We are the owners of them, and we control them to our best good. Sometimes we have to change our thoughts and feelings. Sometimes we have to remodel them. Sometimes we got to throw them out and say, this is not a good one to keep, right?
Marcus entered in the chat, can't be double-minded in thought, correct?
Correct. Because you're saying you can't be Jacob and Esau at the dad, talking to the dad. You guys can't be standing right next to each other. He can only pick one. So that's why he sent him out, and he went in afterwards. So when Esau left, he snuck in afterwards. You can only be one or the other. You can't be both people. So you can't be the person who has and the person who hasn't. We understand that physically, right? But we don't understand that all the physical things we understand are just expressions of the psychological truth that makes this physical thing real. So just like we know we can't be two people, or if we are and we say schizophrenic or bipolar, we don't say that's a bad or a crime, but we don't say that's sanity either. That's something we try to fix and heal, right? So when we're going back and forth, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. A double-minded man, a double-minded mind. You're not looking at a man or a woman, you're looking at a mind. When you're meeting someone, you're meeting a mind. You're meeting a collection of thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. You're meeting a mind. You're not meeting a man or a woman. That's not what you're meeting. You're meeting a mind. A collection of thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. That's what you're meeting. So a lot of times we try to have a relationship with the physical thing we like, while the real thing that is the mind we don't like. So we're double-minded. We're arguing all the time. Because the body we may like, but the mind we don't. Right? It's the same principle that works throughout all things. Right? So if you want to be something, you have to decide what that is and then assume you are it by living in the end of it. You're saying, okay, what would it be like if I had this thing? How would I feel? What would I be doing? What would somebody say if I got this new car? And my mom said, "Woo, man, this car is nice. Oh, wow, this is a great color." What would be going on if it were so, if it were true? Well, that's the same thing that this idea did. This idea was talking to her and saying, this is what's going to happen. And she said, I'm afraid. How? He said, don't be afraid. Don't worry. I got it. All you have to do is let us move in. Whatever we desire to be, that thought, that idea is talking to us. It's our angel. It's talking to us. And we get afraid, just like she did. She was troubled and wondered. She was troubled and wondered, how is this going to be? Right? But it's saying, don't be afraid. I got it. We just want to move in. This idea is talking to you, right? Because it has the ability to express itself. It just needs your participation, your cooperation. It doesn't need your help like that. You don't have to come up with the answer any more than the idea, right? That's not what it's about. That's not what it's for, right? The idea is just something for you to express. It's your greater self. It's your true self working through your conscious mind to express in the body that it built for this physical experience. We're only here for physical experiences. We're not here to save the world. That may be part of your experience. That may be what you desire to experience. But I'm saying we're here to experience what we came to experience. We didn't come to this world to live for other people. There's other people we love. That's part of the physical experience too. But that's not why we came here. As far as we came here to do the things that we came to do. Part of that may be in a relationship, may be a business owner, may be whatever. But we came here for us. Everyone came here for us. We're all individualized beings of the one being. Where it's individualized expressions of one being. There's only one consciousness, only one awareness of being, and it's expressing itself in 8 billion ways. There's only one law, electricity. Got laptops plugged up, lights, computers, phones, still only one thing, but it's able to express itself in a variety of things that it powers. Consciousness is what people call God. Consciousness is able to express itself in 8 billion ways. That's about how many people are on the planet now. But it's still only one consciousness. Still only one law that's working. That's why it says, "Hear, O Israel, man who rules as God," the person who knows who they are. The Lord our God is one. The law, the ruler, the law, the mind is one God in all, above all, and through all. There's one consciousness in all, above all, and through all. Only one. People have made it 58 and 95,000 and things like that. And that's why people are so crazy, confused, and neurotic. They made it what we call religion. So now you got this thousand, there's so many thousands of religions. But yet we all need to eat, we all need to sleep, we all need to do this. We're individual personalities, but as man, humanity, we're one. We all need the same things to function. Nobody walking around with no blood, nobody walking around having, don't sleep, nobody's walking around not eating, nobody's walking around. We all need the same things because we all come from the same being, and that's what we're all returning to. But here, we're here to have a real experience. We individualize ourselves, we wiped our memory. I always explain it like if we went to a nightclub and just imagine you were the owner of a nightclub. So every time you go to your nightclub, you go up to the VIP, to the top. So you're at the VIP at the top, and that first couple of weeks is cool because you got your club and everybody's happy and everybody's like, "Woo, yeah," right? And so you're like, "Yeah, this is my thing," and you're up there happy and you're the big bang hang, right? You're doing it. But then after a while, you get tired of being up here, separated from all the things you created. So you're looking down the dance floor and you see people sweating, arguing, doing a little bit of everything. But even the arguing seems fun because after a while, when you're not a part of anything, after a while, everything or anything seems fun. So you want a part of all that you experience, not just the club and the building and ownership. You want a part of what you see other people are experiencing that you haven't got yet. But then, if you go down there, it's almost like if we go to a party when we're young and we're having a good time till our parents show up. It's like, "Oh, well, let me back up. Girl, back up. Mom's here. You can't do that right now, right? Or homie, back up, but not right now, right? When our parents come, party's up. Fun is over, right? So if we are that business owner, that nightclub owner, if we walk downstairs and everybody knows who we are, they're not going to act the same way they acted before. And so we won't get to experience what we saw. So then we decide, okay, well, what's the only way I can experience this just as I see it? Well, if I don't know, because now I'm not conscious, if I don't know I'm the owner, I can dance like that dude over there because I'm not conscious of being something that I have to maintain or anything. I'm just that owner. I'm just this dude now. If the people don't know I'm the owner, well, they're going to dance with me and I can dance with them just like I saw before I came down here. So you know what? That's the best way to do it. I know I'm the owner at the end of the night. When the night's over and the lights come back on, I'm back to the owner again. But for these couple minutes, I'm not the owner. And they don't know I'm the owner. So I'm out here. And so now I get to have the time on the floor that I looked at from above. And that's essentially, in a very simplistic but true enough way to understand, we came here to experience what we built. And we can't experience it without a body. So we had to come in a body. We had to come through a body to have a body. And now we're here experiencing all the things we built. We wiped our memory in order to be able to believe we really are who we say all of our names on here. We really believe that. But that's the only way we can have the time we really want to have. And the only way other people will have the time with us because they don't know who they are and we don't know who we are. So we all think we're what we think. And we're all cool with that right now. But the whole point of what we're doing now is we knew that sooner or later the club will get old. Sooner or later, they're going to turn the lights on. And we knew we'd go back to being the owner. We know we're going to go back to who we originally were. But in the meantime, this is the time we're having. So while we're here to have all the time. We're here to dance to all the songs. So when I say you're not here to save other people, what I mean is you're not here to dance to this song just because somebody else like it. You're not here to, you don't have to sit down just because somebody else doesn't like it. You're here, you came to the club to have your own time. You might have come with your friends, but all of them don't like your songs. They like some, you like others. Some people only dance for 2 songs, they feet hurt. Some people want to dance all night. Right? You came, even though you might have come with other people, so to speak, you still as an individual have your own time. What is fun to you? And that's why we're here, is to have an individualized version of our time so that we can know what it's like to feel what we built. So we can know what dancing on the floor really is like when we were looking at it. To sweat that hard, to laugh that hard, to bump somebody, to push somebody, even to fight. It's all the same thing because we're still the owner at the end. We know at the end of the day, this is just a scrimmage. It's not real. We don't die for real. Our body, we step out of our body, But this is not, so we don't mind all the things that happen, all the craziness and chaoticness, because that's the part of what we wanted to experience. We want to know what it was like to get in a fight, what it was like to do this and do that. In humanity, we see it's crazy because we feel in order to make this real, we feel like, I don't want to lose it. I don't want to do this or do that. But that's some of that fear is just our true intensity so that we enjoy. But the fear is not correct. It's incorrect. It's ignorance. It's not knowing how to control our emotion. But we are emotional because that's what makes us important to us. Our emotion is what makes us important. It's important to be here. We didn't come here to not have a good time. We didn't come here to not do anything, right? So these two stories are, I said that to say these two stories are just illustrations of some truth, right? That we can be whatever we want, but this is how to be it. By deciding, what do you want? What do you want? People I work with, boy, they have such a hard time. I ask them that question. That probably will take up half the session just trying to figure that out. What do I want? People don't say what they want. They say what they think they can get. Well, what do you want? Well, I'm already 28. It's too late for that. It's like, well, shoot, if you're not telling me what you want, what are you telling me then? You're just telling me what you can get. You're just hoping now with what time is left, I'm going to go ahead and just let me see what I can get, right? So what do you want? What do you really want? What idea is coming to you, desiring to express itself? What idea is in you that desires to express itself? That angel, what angel is talking to you? What angel is talking to you? That's what I want us to think about. What angel is talking to us? And go back and read that story and look at all of her responses. That's us. That idea, that's us. What we say about it, that's us. The people who don't do anything about it, that's us. The people who do, that's us. It's all us. And by being able to look back at these stories, you're like, oh, wow. Now I understand what they were trying to say by the story. We're not worried about no Virgin Mary. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what happens when we get an idea from our greater self that says, hey, man, we out here. It's time to get it. And we're like, what? How? You know my leg hurt. Man, you know I don't got that much gas in the car. Now you know. We wonder and worry all the time because we don't know or trust where it's coming from. And that's what studying will do, meaning spending time with yourself and reflecting, getting quiet and sitting down with yourself. You'll be more comfortable with that voice. So then when it's calling you, you'll be like, oh, what's up, man? Okay, you want to go? Yeah, let's go. Because you're comfortable with who's calling you. You're aware of who's calling you. Right? So these are just important things. These are some things to know and to start thinking and to sit down, right? And start thinking about yourself. And because you are Jacob and you're Esau right now, and there's Jacob in you desiring to express. What is that? That's what we're here for. We're here to facilitate this understanding so that you can take it into your own life and apply it. Whether your Jacob is wealth, I want to be wealthy. Okay, now I am. You present yourself to the law of mind by now assuming you are wealthy. And now, like the Virgin Mary, you're pregnant with the idea and you stay faithful to it until it bursts. You don't say the next day, oh, shit. You don't say the next day, oh, well, you don't do that. You hold it. You hold that thought in your mind, that belief in your mind until it gives birth. And it will when you feel yourself to be that. But a lot of times we wait. Like, so she's like, well, how am I going to do that? A lot of times we wait to feel something in order to feel something, but it's like, it doesn't work like that. You have to feel you are something in order to bring it into experience. Thought and feeling bring it into experience. Experience doesn't create thought and feeling. What did Winston Churchill said? He said, moods are the creator of circumstances. Circumstances are not the creators of mood. People think like, oh, because this happened, I feel this way. No, because you felt that way, that's how it happened. That's what Virgin Mary, Jesus didn't get here before Mary got here. Right? Jacob couldn't have got that without his mom's help. Right? So thought and feeling create. Circumstances just reinforce what you created. They're your mirror. They're telling you what you're creating. And because we've been creating our whole life, we do it in ignorance because we never had to buy it, earn it, apply for it, study for it. We've been born with the ability to think and feel. That's why babies can even cry at the youngest age, right? Because they can think and feel. But that is creating. And so we've been doing it since birth. We don't realize our power in that we're doing. Right? So that's enough for today. We'll get on some other stuff tomorrow. I'm going to open it up for question and answer. And if anybody has any, let's ask them up, make the most of the rest of our time and keep it going.
Marcus asked in the chat, can you ask Lucky to tell the story of the young lady who decided to create and feel the story me and him discussed yesterday?
Oh, yeah, essentially there was an older lady in this book. It's called in this Neville Goddard book. So we started. I don't know if you guys have seen the different sites and Instagram and all the other stuff, but we put some book recommendations and things like that on there. And in one of the books, a Neville Goddard book, who's another person that we recommended, in the book called The Law and the Promise, there's an older lady. She's 55. She has no friends, hardly. She's very few friends. She has no living relatives near her. She doesn't have anyone to depend on physically or financially. She doesn't have a job. She has very little money in her bank account, and she has a car, but it's so worn down she doesn't really like to drive it because she's afraid it's gonna fall apart. And she has a whole bunch of bills and just things that she doesn't know how she's going to keep herself going, and she doesn't have anyone to rely on. So she used to go to the guy Neville Goddard's lectures all the time for about a year. So finally, she said she got to the point where she decided, I have nothing to lose. I'm just going to try it. So she thought about all the things she needed, money and clothes and a suitable car and all these different things. So she decided, okay, I'm going to imagine that I have all these things. So she laid down the first night, and she just imagined having all these different things. But all that she needed so many things in such a short amount of time that she basically stressed herself out. She wore herself out. So she decided, okay, this is too much. So she decided, I'm just going to put all my desires into one thing. So now I'm going to encompass all these desires with a phrase. And hers was, isn't it wonderful? And for her, it just meant, isn't it wonderful that everything I'm thinking about is now taken care of, is now so, is now true. And she was talking about everything: car, clothes. She needed money. She wanted, just a lot of different things, but she wanted them so bad, and she needed them all so bad right now that trying to imagine trying to be the Virgin Mary 7 different times over 7 different things was too much. So she decided to encompass it into one thing. And so, long story short, she would go to bed every night, saying, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful that something marvelous is happening or wonderful is happening to me right now? And so it was just her way of saying, everything I desire to be, I am. Everything I desire to have and do is now so. So a couple of days later, she went out to lunch with this guy that she knew, and they were talking about New York because she used to live there and he was going on a trip. So she said they talked for a couple minutes and that was it. She said she forgot all about it. A month later, she said, to the day that they went on that little lunch outing, a month later to the day, he comes back with a certified check for $2,500. Now, every night she imagined herself, she Jacobed herself, basically. She supplanted every night in her mind. She assumed she was what she wanted to be, with feeling every night before she went to bed. She fell asleep feeling like everything was wonderful, like everything was working for her, and she was as happy as she could be. A month later to that day, she did that for a month. A month later to that day, the guy who went out to New York knocked on her door and came back and knocked on her door and presented her with a certified check for $2,500. Now, when this happened, this was in I don't remember what year it was, but when I looked it up, it would be the equivalent of $25,000 today. And what happened was, when he went out there, he ran into a mutual friend. He didn't know the guy was out there. Neither one of these people had seen this guy in however long. And so in the interim, the guy got super wealthy. So when he ran into him, he said, somehow you came up and we started talking. So the guy basically gave the lady, the guy that she hadn't seen and that neither one of them had seen for so long, had gave the guy who went to New York, gave him a check for her. And every month after that, there was a check that came to her apartment for all the things that she wanted in life and plus. That happened for 2 years. At the end of 2 years, she got a letter, like a certified letter from the guy in New York's lawyer, who basically said, okay, you're going to get this for the rest of your life. And she was able to basically be taken care of well. And she said had money for plenty of things left over and no need to earn her daily bread. So she never, from the time she started believing she was something, from the time she went from Esau to Jacob to basically Esau with Jacob standing on top, she basically, that happened in about a month. And then for the rest of her life, she never had to work. She had money for more than anything she could ever use or need, and things like that, right? So that was the way her idea, her angel, that was the way her angel granted her desire. right? Her idea became flesh, right? So all of us, our true self knows the best way to get us anything, the most effective, efficient, easy way. Humans make things hard. We make things hard. We rationalize, we reason, we stress, we worry. Our true self does not, right? So it knows the best way to get us anything and everything if we just trust it. If we can just hold the thought and feeling of being. Like I said, feeling doesn't have to be hysterical. You ain't got to work yourself into some kind of mojo and jump off the roof and flip back and be, you don't have, it's not that. It's just the feeling. Like when you first win the lottery, you'll be excited, probably for the first 6 weeks, maybe a year. But 5 years later, you're still gonna be screaming at the top of your lungs. It goes from like, oh my God, to just like, yeah, just that feeling of knowing, right? And that it's just the feeling of knowing that you are what you want to be, that things are working the way you want. And our reason may deny that. Our senses may deny that. Esau does come back. At the end of that story, Esau does come back. Esau comes back. So after Isaac gives him the blessing, Esau and Jacob heads out the back. Esau comes back from hunting and he says, "Hey, Dad, here's your stuff." He said, "Who is this?" He says, "Me, Esau." He said, "Well, who was that? That must have been here." And he said, "Oh no," right? And so he realized that Isaac had given his blessing to Jacob. And I didn't tell you another part of the story, which is earlier, but Jacob also stole Esau's birthright. So he took everything from Esau, just in different parts of the story, right? But so once he realized that, because Jacob was just like, no, this is how I'm supposed to be. Your desire is telling you how you're supposed to be, not how you are now. It's not saying that you're bad now. It's just saying that you're meant for more. We here to do it more. We didn't come to the club to dance to one song. We came to dance all night. We came to dance with him, with her, with our friends. We came to sweat. We came to do everything. We didn't come to just stick our toe in. We didn't come this far and be up here for 9 months and come out and be like, it's time to go home. Like that's not what we came for. We came for all of it, right? And so so when Esau came back and realized he lost his birthright, yeah. So I'm saying, I'm about to say, when you assume you are something and now you're Jacob usurping or supplanting, the physical world does come back. But sending Esau out means put the reality to the side, put conditions to the side, put what you think can be or can't be or why not, put that to the side, send it hunting, put your senses out, throw them out, just put them to the side for a minute so that Jacob can step in and talk to the Father, talk to your consciousness, and now condition it to say, this is who I am. And so that Isaac, right, the law, and Jacob can talk, you and your desire can talk, and you guys can merge. And now you got the Virgin Mary, now you're pregnant, and then you just keep it, right? And then once you have that connection, yeah, Esau does come back. The world comes back and says, no, you're not. No, you're not. But Isaac said, it's too late. I've already given the blessing. I can't take it back. Once you become one with it, doesn't matter what the world says. Doesn't matter what's going on. It will express itself as long as you remain faithful to it. Are there any other questions? We got a couple minutes left. I want to make sure I stopped early because, like I said, this is not a preach to you, yell at you thing. This is a interactive. I want everybody to be able to participate or ask questions and things like that while we have time, so that, because I want you to not only hear what I'm saying, but I want you to be able to learn and digest it so that you can take it with you once you get off here and start thinking. Start saying, what do I want to be? What do I want to do? You can have it all. You can have anything. There's no desire that comes to you that you can't do. That meaning it can't be done through you, as you. Right? So that's what this is for. So please ask if you have any questions or anything like that, or any thoughts or any comments or anything like that.
Joe asked, what is the benefit of prayer?
Prayer is, here's my definition of prayer. Prayer is the assumption that something is already so. Prayer is the assumption that something is already so. In the book, it says, pray without ceasing. Well, how do you pray without ceasing? Are you really just, no, it means you're assuming something is so without ceasing. So people pray all the time. But because of the word prayer, we think it's formal. We think it's this, or we think it's, sitting down. We think we have to stop. No, we're praying all the time about what we're feeling and believing to be true. Humanity made the robes and the candles and church and buildings and said, you got to face this way to do it. And why did you face this way to do it if God is everywhere? Which way are you going to face that God ain't? In my best English, which way are you going to turn that God ain't? Right? So prayer is the assumption that it's already so. You already believe it to be so. People do this all the time. They just do it in way they don't want. You know what? We're having layoffs this month. We don't know who it's going to be. Oh, shoot. Is that me? Oh my God. Then, well, what if I do this? Well, then what if my car, or I'm coughing? Oh man, what does that mean? Do I got bronchitis? We have thoughts, right? That stories, right? That Veronica always talks about, that we tell ourselves. We have things that happen and we have a story about it. We have a belief that it means something. So we're praying. It means we have a thought. We're doing the same thing. We have a thought that we've now emotionalized. We don't have any proof. We don't know that it's so, but we believe it. Right? And so praying without ceasing, what that means is that you are assuming something to be without ceasing, without relenting. You don't quit. You don't stop. So prayer is just the assumption that something is already true. You have to choose what you're assuming to be true. Most people don't. Most people only assume to be true the worst. Oh man, it's a recession. Oh man, it's flu season. Oh man, it's going to be crowded today. Oh man, my knee acts up when it rains. Oh, you're praying. What does it say? You shall declare and decree a thing, and it shall come to pass. If what you say comes to pass, then isn't that the reason you pray? Because you want what you say to happen? Well, if you shall declare and decree a thing, and it comes to pass, look it up. In that book, in that wisdom book, look it up. You shall declare and decree a thing, and it comes to pass. It says you shall. Well, if you shall, then who's the only thing that makes anything? Who's the only creator? God. So that means it's got to be you. That means what you say, meaning what you are thinking to be true, and you express, you shall declare and decree a thing, and it shall come to pass. Let there be light. It's the same thing. Well, it's a study to show yourself approved. You. This is for you. It's about you. You are talking to you. When you pray, you're talking to you. Your prayer is what you are thinking and feeling to be true. I ain't this. I don't have it. I can't got it. I can't get it. I can't afford it. Right? Or yes, I can. Yes, I am. Yes, this is what it is. You shall declare. You are talking to you and saying, this is what I believe. I am this, that, or the other. So that's the point of prayer. The point of prayer is not to do it. The point is that you're always doing it. That's the point to understand. It's not that you should do it, want to do it, kind of should like to do it. No, it's that you're always doing it. So the point is to become conscious of that fact and of that truth. So you can do it on purpose. If you're driving a car, if you fall asleep, just because you fell asleep doesn't mean you're absolved from what happened. Hopefully you didn't hit anybody or anything, but if you did, it's on you. You can't say I fell asleep. So just because we're asleep, your eyes don't have to be closed to be asleep. Write that one down for you. I felt good about that myself. You do not have to have your eyes closed to be asleep.
Joe put in the chat, so is it fair to say that your self-talk, negative or positive, is the act of praying?
Absolutely. Go. I want you. So since you asked the question, I want you to go on YouTube and look up Neville Goddard, N-E. It'll be in the chat, Goddard, and look up. He has a video called Self-Talk. We're always talking to ourselves. Always, in the morning, in the shower, in the car. We're always talking to ourselves. Always. Sometimes it's out loud. Sometimes it's just inwardly, but we're always talking to ourselves. We're always proclaiming ourselves to be. We're always talking to ourselves. So yes, look that up, and it's a great video for you to think about it, for you to have a better even understanding of what we're talking about. Yes, you're on the right path. You're absolutely correct. It's not safe to say, it's true to say. It's the truth. Absolutely. So watch what you're saying, because you're saying it. God is, right? I am. Another word for saying, another way of saying I am is saying God is. So when you say I am sick, that is silly as saying God is sick. That's as silly as saying that. If you wouldn't say that about God, don't say it about you, because you're the one, you're the same, you're one being. Your true self is that, what people call God. Allah, Buddha, or nature, infinite intelligence. That is, whatever you call it, your true self is that. So if you would not, we use the word God because we understand how it's been used over time, historically, so we have an understanding objectively. If we wouldn't say that about this thing that we used to pray to and we think it's something else, we would never attach that to that. But we are made in the image and likeness. How are we made in the image and likeness? Not in the body, but in our ability in the mind to think, to create through our thought and feeling. So when we attach sickness to I am, it's possible. Because what does it say? With God, all things are possible. All things are possible to him who believes. So God and man must be one because they're possible to both. All with God, all things are possible. All things are possible to him who believes. So if you wouldn't say God is sick, then you shouldn't say I am sick. And I'm not talking about semantics and saying, oh, these are negative confessions. What I'm saying is you shouldn't think that's any more sane than the other statement. So that means we're just not thinking properly. So our thought, our diseased thought causes disease in our body. Our body can't do anything against what you think or believe to be true. So we have to watch what we think or believe to be true because that's the orders we're given to our body. Our body is the first thing outside of us. It's in the physical world. It's not us. So if we create reality, if we create life through our thought, then our body is part of this life and it is governed and it is by us, just like our house is. If our house is dirty, it's nobody else's fault. If our body is sick, it's no one else's fault. Now, if we let somebody else come in there and dirty it up, it's still our house and we allowed it to happen. If we let somebody else put their thought in our mind like flu season, we still let that happen. But it's no one else's fault. It's not a fault, but there's just an outcome. There's thought and outcome. At the highest level, there's thought and outcome. So that's why you want to choose what you thought or think or feel to be true, because that's what that is. That's how things are created. Right?
You want to let them know we'll be here tomorrow?
Yep. So we will be here tomorrow, same time. We're going to start pretty much right at 5. We're gonna tighten this up because out of the respective time and out of the principle of being on time. I understand people have different things. So some people are listening and can't talk because they're working or they're driving. So I respect and appreciate everyone coming, but we are still going to start on time because that's just what we do, right?
Nisha entered in the chat. So is it fair to say that before you lay down at night that you need to manifest what you want and need?
So yes, to answer your question the way you're asking it, yes. Essentially, prayer and sleep are the same. They are designed, as far as when people like to stop and pray, right? Or meditate, they're designed to do the same thing, which is to put your conscious mind to send it out like Esau. It's to get it to calm down enough for you to be able to to bring Jacob forward, to impress your subconscious mind. So you want to go to bed consciously with the thoughts and the feeling of what you desire to be. And now you're taking that into your subconscious mind. You're taking that into the part of you that's power, right? Where are the powerhouse, right? You can think anything, but your true self does it. You think it does it. It does whatever you think. So your conscious mind's job is to decide what it wants. Your subconscious mind job, the part of you that you can't see, job is to power what you thought. You put the seed into the ground. The ground produces what the seed is. It doesn't change it. So that is why the book represents, or they talk about, that's why they put Adam to sleep to create the woman. That's why that's not a real thing like that, but that's why it said it that way. Because creation requires your conscious mind a lot of time to be in abeyance. Send Esau out, right? To kind of calm it down so that you can talk directly to the Father, directly to your subconscious mind, right? Because that's where, once you implant that seed in there, it's on, right? So prayer, sleep are the best ways and best times to do it. Yes. Hopefully that answers your question. If you have another one, if that did, great. If you have another one, please ask. So we have a book club that we're going to start. We'll probably talk about it a little bit more tomorrow because we're almost, okay, we're good. We have a book club that we're going to get started. We are, like I said, this is interactive. We are here to learn. This is not education where I sit here and just blab all the time and everybody sits there and just listens. You've done that your whole life. It ain't helped hardly any of us. Right. So we want to make sure we take this information that we're getting and learn it so that we can apply it in our lives today. We got bills, we got kids, we got the weather, we got work, we have a lot of different life. And so we're doing this to be able to live life wisely and skillfully and to realize and remember that we're in control of our lives, but not because of how hard we work or how many jobs we have. A lot of times we're working so hard and have so many jobs because we're not living properly. We're not thinking properly, right? Life is lived in the mind. It's expressed in the body. Right. So if we change our thoughts, be you transformed by the renewing of your mind. You change your physical expression by renewing the creator, the creation, right? Cause and effect. Cause is your mind. The effect is your body, is everything you see. The cause is everything you don't see. The wind, you can't see it, but you can see what it blows, right? So part of the thing we're going to do to really work on our learning is information. We're going to spend some time studying. You have to do it. It's not, it's just in life, you have to make time in order to grow and learn and develop yourself. That's the only way we live a better life. We don't, not by, you can only work so many jobs, you can only work so hard. Your body doesn't last, physically as long as your mind, in the sense of, right, you're not running, like you did when you were 2, right? But your mind can be sharp till you go, and so can your body. But I'm simply saying that your mind is designed to do certain things and your body is designed to do other things, right? So you have to make sure that you learn how to make them work together. So the information that we sit down and we think and we internalize and interpret and then start using it as we can will help you have a better understanding of what we're saying. Because this is not theory, this is not philosophy. We're not here to argue about something. We're here to learn it well enough to apply it and see if it works, just like a scientist does. Nobody tells a scientist, "We'll prove it first." How am I going to prove it without a theory, without a theory, and then without an experiment? How can you prove something, right? So we're here to prove it. We ain't here to just talk about it. We're here to talk about it enough to understand it, to apply it, and then we got the proof. Right. So we're going to be sending out information and things like that. The first thing we're actually going to send out today is the link for the Woodrow Wilson. I think we sent that out earlier. The Woodrow Wilson thing about education, about education. I want everybody to read that and have it read by tomorrow. Right, so that we can discuss it when you get here. We may discuss it a little bit or a lot, but the point is, I want you to understand, like, health and law and history, and like what we're talking about now, the commonality, the common denominator is truth. If we don't understand what's happening or what's being thought, or we don't know how to think, we're just out here like a 2-year-old just running around with joy, but we're not able to produce anything, right? So I want us to be able to produce things. Right. So but we have to have thought in order to do that. We have to be thinking properly to do that. We cannot live better or higher than we think. We want to live up here. We want a lot of money. We want this, we want that. And yet we out here just thinking anything. We're listening to all this stuff down here, but we're trying to buy organic food. That is not going to help you. That food is going to be in and out of your body in 2 or 3 days. But what you thinking and listening to and memorizing is with you for years. Which one do you think has more of a profound effect on your life? Right. So it's everything that matters. We're not here to doesn't mean you can't listen to music or you can't eat this or that. No, once you know who you are, you know how you made everything. So there is nothing good or bad. There's nothing God made that makes it allergic. What could God make that it could be allergic to? That wouldn't even make any reasonable sense. But in our mind, when we lower our mind in humanity, we're limited. Analogy is nothing but a limitation. But it's a physical limitation that results in the mind, because everybody's not allergic to the same things. Right. So it becomes individual. So everybody's individual being is mentality, it's mind. That's why the first Hermetic principle is, right, the universe is mental, all is mind. Right. So that's great. Great job today, and thank everybody for showing up. We appreciate you. So read that in the chat. Read that little paper in the chat by Woodrow Wilson. He was giving a speech at Princeton and talked about education, the difference between liberal education and basically blue collar education, so to speak, like training schools and stuff like that. So but it'll just give you, get your mind going, get your mind to cranking and really see what people are thinking and understanding and talking about and stuff like that as it relates to thinking and thought and stuff like that. So that's what all this is for. Okay? So yeah, thank you guys. It's great to see everyone. I appreciate everyone. And we'll give you some more information tomorrow about the website and about some other things as well. But we want to, in the interest of time, respect everyone's time. We will start tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
It's the same link.
Okay, and tomorrow is the same link as today, right? Tomorrow's the same link as today. We will be starting on time moving forward. So I understand everybody's, has things to do. That's okay. But this is just our own habits that we're working with and our own way of doing business, right? Here, right? So. All right. Well, thanks everyone. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. And